everybody, and welcome to the Big Announcement Coming Soon podcast. My name is Michael Boyle, and joining me today are fellow co-hosts Nick Garvin and Jeff Renton. Nick, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning.
And Nick,
Uh,
you're joining us from sunny Bangkok, right?
that's right. That's right. It's about 9:30 p.m. in Bangkok, and it's pouring down rain right now. We're in like the middle of a monsoon here. You might hear it a bit in the background.
Yeah, I was wondering what we were hearing. I thought maybe you just had, a big, huge fan blowing next to you because it gets pretty hot in Bangkok, right?
Yeah, that's true. True. Yeah,
Uh,
but nope. That's just a steady rain out there.
uh,
So. Uh,
and joining closer to me is Jeff Renton down in sunny Sun River enjoying some rain as well.
Mm-hmm. It's raining here this morning.
Yeah, that's all you got.
Um, yeah,
So
it's
the man of
raining
the
here to
man of
talk to you
few
guys.
words, the man of
yeah.
few words who's going to contribute to the podcast today, Jeff Renton, mentioning that it is raining down there. So yeah, I haven't got it up here. Not that anybody really cares about the weather in Central Oregon where we are right now, but it's
Mhm.
mostly smoky here for me. So, all right. So the format of this show is we each bring an article to talk about, and then we just sort of, I guess, hack away on that article, depending on what everybody's got to say about it. I've got a pretty simple one, just talking about El Salvador and President Bukele there buying all that Bitcoin. And then he even bought a bunch more, what he called the dip. But fortunately for El Salvador, that dip has continued to be dipping. So maybe it was not such a wise way to go for him. He bought it, what, I want to say in the 50s and 60s, and now we're down to under
Mhm.
20 right now. So, but according to the article, it's not really that big a deal because people never really got into it all that much, anyways. But if I remember, he bought like, I don't know, I want to say 500 million or so of the coin, and then we have the IMF that's resistant now to giving them any sort of money because they're like, oh, look what you're doing. You're essentially a third world country. You're investing in something like this that isn't such a smart way to go. I don't know what. There's more to it here than that. Like there are some benefits. It has helped with tourism. You see more companies opening up offices, Bitcoin companies, of course, opening up offices in El Salvador. But all in all, it doesn't seem like that smart of a play. What do you guys think?
Um, I think it's a little, I think it's fine. I think it's just a little short. So we're looking at this less than a year out. I think he made plenty of poor decisions with buying the dip and getting in on the hype and all the rest of the stuff with the bull market. But let's look at this in 3, 4, 5 years. The remittances, I think that helps. And then in
Well,
the end,
that's they're showing 2% of remittances are coming
hmm,
from Bitcoin. So that was
so
my
far,
thought. Is shoot, let's do USD. I'm sitting here in California or something. I can send it down to my family in El Salvador. Isn't this going to be a great way to go? I can avoid all those fees. But surprisingly, that isn't happening. Now the article says they actually already have a pretty good remittance system. So apparently it isn't
mhm.
solving that problem, which is what I thought it would. But you're taking a long term view on this.
Yeah, I think long term it solves the remittance problem. And the other thing is backing up and looking at El Salvador didn't have a currency, right? They got rid of their currency and used the US dollar. So they've
Uh-huh.
kind of given up, as we talk about CBDCs and all that stuff with other countries, they've given that up. They're not printing, they can't print their way out of anything. And then as the US dollar printed last year and inflates, they're kind of at the mercy of that. So they didn't give up a national currency to go to Bitcoin. They went from one alternate currency, the dollar, to a different alternate one. And they're in a unique position because they didn't give anything up. They just
Yeah, that's a
added.
good. Yeah, that's a good point. So it wasn't like they were giving up their own currency, and it's probably, I guess, the only country in the world that has dual currencies. A lot of countries will have the U.S. dollar as their sort of currency, but it's not their official currency, especially in Latin America.
Yeah. Nick?
Yeah, well, I think you nailed it earlier, Mike, when you said that it brings more tourism in. There's some eyes on El Salvador now. People are looking at it maybe as a haven. I'm sure like that's going to influence regulation, and then people who want to, who knows, whether it's volcano mining or some tourism or just some sort of going down and visiting and I don't know. I just think that there is like there's like something about like first mover advantage, and El
Hmm.
Salvador kind of did that. And as a country, like we see that with the people like I don't know. I mean, we see like there's always somebody who comes around who kind of takes advantage of like the cycle or the hype or whatever, and there's always like the Max Kaisers or like the Michael Saylors and stuff. But it's never happened as a country before, and this is like they not only did they opt out of that system, that Jeff was saying, where it was kind of broken really for them, didn't really matter. They just hopped into another thing, but they did it in a way that kind of made them look cool, and they're hoping that that the juice is worth the squeeze there.
Can I
Yeah,
jump in
Bukele
on
is
one point
definitely.
quick? Nick, you said they wanted to take advantage of it like everyone else, but Kaiser and Sailor are doing a whole different thing. I don't think Bukele took advantage of it. I think they got caught up in the hype. I think the
Mm,
next three countries who add Bitcoin in the bear market, and then, right, if he had bought and it went up and played the super cycle, then we'd be saying something completely different. So the countries that
true.
get into it right now as we head towards 14K, not advice for finances, and back up,
Mm,
it's going to be a very different discussion where all of a sudden it looks different. And then, like I said, in 5 years, if that
mm,
2% number of remittances is up to 50 and people are using it and Bitcoin's hovering at a higher rate,
mm.
well, now it's just kind of a normal thing. But
Right.
yeah,
And
I wouldn't say
Bukele
they took
did take a.
advantage of it. I think he
Well, he
he
did
got
take advantage
suckered
of
in.
the coolness of it all. I mean,
I think
he's a
politically for
cool dude.
power to kind of, yeah, I mean they kind of like he also did a lot of like other things, right, that weren't so cool, but I think now, and this was an opportunity to kind of, yeah, image, uh
Yeah,
like it just
he's in
turned the
his
point, like, yeah.
30s. So, nothing against you 30-year-old types, but yeah, he's in that age bracket where he's kind of focused on being cool. He's still quite popular
Yeah.
in El Salvador, so apparently this didn't have any big impact on him in that regard. And what about the volcano token? They were going to float some bond. They haven't done it yet. Called the
Hmm.
volcano token. There's a lot of just coolness around that. A bunch of crypto bros might come in and invest in that. I
Hmm.
mean, he's probably wisely delayed it, but if we see crypto going up,
Well, why
if
crypto bros? It sounds like the best ESG thing ever, right?
what's that? Tell me about an ESG.
ESG, environmental, societal, governance, the go
Okay,
green
gotcha,
and all that stuff. The awards that
gotcha.
Exxon wins for winning the ESG stuff.
But
But
Okay, gotcha.
yeah, he should play that card. Forget selling it to Bitcoin
he
maxis.
did,
It's green Bitcoin from
yeah.
the volcano, red
And he
Bitcoin
kind of
from the
did
volcano.
play that card, remember? Like
Yeah, tell
he
us about
played
that,
that
Nick.
card. He played it like in a meme way, and it was shortly after the news broke about how like El Salvador would adopt it as legal tender. He kind of jumped on board, like again the hype, the internet, the niche group, the people were like making memes about however the volcano mining came out, but it turned into a meme, and then he was like retweeting it and just really fully embracing it and kind of throwing it back at the US, who was frowning upon obviously anybody like
Hmm.
opting out of a system, a legacy
Right.
system, right? But like he was like, why? Because this is actually like they made the case early on why this is actually greener to mine from volcanoes, and it started out almost like a joke, but he was like legit serious, and it is. It's like you're just saying, like it probably cleaner and more sustainable, eh?
Yeah,
I,
the fact that a year later or more, there's an article about this shows some of the legitimacy, the staying power of the concept. So he's able to get the headlines and all that. So
mhm.
maybe that's worthwhile to him. I don't know.
Oh
I
yeah, what do
does he?
countries spend on marketing, right? We've all lived all abroad. There's commercials from countries to come visit the country. Everybody has a
Hmm.
tourism board. I wonder, yeah, what did he create in El Salvador kind of marketing and exposure just by doing all this? Was it worth the what he buy? He's down 50%, but write it off as a marketing loss?
It would be a heck of a write-off.
Wow, you
So
got cut off, or you chose to cut yourself off from the global, you know, the global system, the global monetary system, right? And so
yeah.
there is like repercussions, perhaps. I don't know if there's a going back, right? Is there? Or
Well,
Well, going
I
back
don't think
to
it'd be for him
they're
because he's
still
got
on the
the.
dollar. They're
Yeah, I
still
mean
a part of
politically,
everything. They gave up nothing. They didn't give up a CBDC, or sorry, a normal fiat central bank currency. They weren't
okay,
printing.
yeah,
They
yeah, yeah.
they didn't set right. They have a very different system. So I think if anyone's going to jump in, why not them? And then the
Mm,
next countries that jump in, let's say something like Turkey and Argentina, who their systems are failing. We're not saying that people should give up a working system if, and that's a different discussion if any fiat systems aren't working, but right, they're not coming from a
right.
position of power and economic um, influence or control. So why not jump in with 2 feet? Same reason a lot of us young
yeah, but what
folks
about? I
jump
mean, it's a
in.
poor country, and talk about a waste of money to lose 50% of money that you don't really have anyways. I hear what you're saying. It's not going to fracture their entire economic system because they don't rely on it because they still have the U.S. dollar. But it just doesn't seem like a very wise movement for a poor country to take that risk, other than for Bukele's ego.
Oh, but if it, that whole different discussion of it could have paid off. and it might in 2 3 years, and then they're the smart ones who, like
Yeah,
Nick
but you
said,
shouldn't should
first
you take a
mover
high risk
advantage.
as a poor country? Yeah, maybe they're going to be right, maybe
Right.
they're going to be wrong, but it's a risky investment for a poor country to make when there's people out
Yeah.
there not eating well.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm just not
Absolutely.
saying as an investment. I'm thinking as an alternative way to do money down there, and as a much different thing. I think for him to talk about buying the dip and treat it as an investment was a bad marketing choice. It was the bull market, but really to look at the tech adoption and just say, hey, it's worth this cost. What would it cost us
Yeah,
to adopt another financial system? Would be it our own or a joint South American peso or something like that, which I've never heard about happening. But what would it cost their system to join a new non-USD system? It's going to
right.
cost
Assuming
them.
that that's a good idea on its own as well. Well,
Yeah,
Jeff, do you want to talk to us about ApeCoin and the death of staking? What's going on with
yeah.
that?
So this is an article. Let me just flip my notes. Kobe posted, and it's something that I had talked about with people when coins started staking that were ERC20s. So all these articles and stuff is going to be linked in the show notes, but really Kobe's talking about when ApeCoin came out, they offered to stake, and it doesn't have its own chain, so the staking was really tie up your coins and get rewards.
Hmm.
So the reason I bring this one up is as Ethereum goes to proof of stake this week, next week.
Which is a big announcement itself.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And I don't want to really discuss proof of stake, proof of work right now, just kind of looking within the microcosm of accepting proof of stake. There's a lot of ERC20 tokens that started in 2017 from those ICOs. They don't really do much. There's no point. There's governance. And if you look at like Uniswap and Aave, DXDY, they don't share out profits. So, excuse me. um, you're right. You have the governance. You can vote. Curve works a little differently, but there's a lot of these other tokens that I'm not mentioning that just don't have a point. So DXDY moved to IBC, which is the Cosmos Atoms hub. Well,
Hmm.
IBC means the DXDY token needs to be staked. The way they do security over there, each chain is kind of like how some of the L2s have their own token in off of Ethereum, but in IBC you can share with Atoms. I think that's coming up if it doesn't exist already with security, but you stake your token. So DXDY moved over there, and I kind of see it as, oh, well, now you have a purpose. It's a security, not a security as an SEC sense, but to the staking security. POS is what they're doing. So simply by switching the tech underlying, they gave their token a use. The token came out. That's a different argument about governance because most of it's useless. But now all of a sudden you need to hold DXDY and you need to stake it for the chain security, and they're creating use cases for their token by adopting new tech. So this gets back into that different sorry, not the different, but that original idea of if you're staking and locking it up, really they're creating value for tokens, whether it's making it illiquid, so whoever has the unstaked tokens
Scarce
can dump.
scarcity. Yeah.
Yeah. Or and you sell that scarcity as well. Let's move over here and get security. So there's
So
other go ahead.
why is this working? I mean, there's an ApeCoin. I'm reading here in the article. The current valuation of ApeCoin is around $15 billion. But you're just telling us
Oh, and
that's
that
all just
article's a
BS.
couple months old.
Okay, so whatever it is, but so it's still a high number.
Yeah, so
But if
ApeCoin has use.
is it
It
just
has
hype and BS?
Oh, sure, it's hype, it's the use of the coin, it's the other side, it's their whole metaverse. ApeCoin itself and the BAYC stuff, they're doing cool things, and that Nick will of course get more into NFTs, but I'm simply talking about the idea that Kobe picked on them for using the phrase staking. People think, oh, it's this is crypto, I need to stake my tokens.
Yeah.
Well, what is it doing? And in their case, what they should call it is please remove liquidity and take a bit of
Yeah.
reward. And
Yeah.
I saw,
To create the scare. Now, does that create scarcity and then pump the price up?
It
oh yeah,
stops
of
the
course,
buying or stops the selling too, yeah? Like you just it's
yeah,
kind of a commitment to not sell for 30, 60, 90 days, right?
yeah.
And
Those of us who got locked up in Luna as it went down and were staked, you can't
Yes.
sell.
We're not going to
Um,
talk about Luna. We made that rule on this show, didn't
no,
we?
no. Luna C is up 20% today. Let's talk about no.
that's
But my
wild.
point
But
being more importantly than ApeCoin is with IBC and DXDY moving, they're taking this mechanism of staking and saying, well, we'll go create security out of our token um, by using it to stake on the IBC network, whether that's as secure as ETH, that's another different discussion. But it it feels like they're taking these tokens that were useless and finding excuses to make them useful.
But we can all make excuses. How are they able to be successful in that and create value out or valuation out of it?
Right. So is the
So
value of
is it just pure hype?
securing. Well, no, because now you have to secure the DXDY ecosystem on IBC by staking tokens, where you didn't have to use shared security with Ethereum before.
Uh-huh.
So hype changing the tech, making it have a use where people can't say, well, it's useless. You know, it's for security.
I see. So, but you're just saying it's not legitimate because I'm
Why
reading here
not
their
stay on
mission
ETH?
is just is become the main currency for Web3, which there's a lot of competition out there for that.
Right. And everybody wants their token to be used as a currency where they could just
Right.
use wrapped ETH, wrapped Bitcoin. So
Right.
why have a token? Well, you need it for chain security, so you create your own chain
Right.
rather than
Okay.
running as an ERC20. So it's just an interesting move to change the narrative because all of this is around that narrative of why is the coin useful. And I think they're creating that and jumping on that IBC bandwagon. So I think more ERC20 coins will, if coins get staked from the few that have moved, as DXDY and one or two others have already moved. Um, if people start staking those and locking it up and the price rises, like you said, because of um, there's no supply, why
Hmm.
not everybody move
Yeah.
from ETH and make your token a proof of stake that you have to stake as an IBC to create use and thus value for it? Whether or not
Now,
that's
does it?
value, but
I think the question comes in to play where you're wondering why. Well, where does the continued liquidity come from? If everyone's staking and locking up, right? What? And I'm new, right? I missed the staking boat at the beginning, so you're trying to convince me to stake with you and lock my coins up for 90 days.
Yeah.
What's the
Why should you
incentive
do
for
that?
me? Yeah,
Yeah.
where's
16%
the
APY,
continued
20% APY.
the continued added value? Yeah. So does the percentage go down or would it go up? Um, like does the coin itself? Like I'm thinking particularly of ApeCoin, right? In many ways you're getting people into the club, whether you're staking or not. You're there's it's like buying Disney dollars, right? Like you're committed to the park. You're only
Hmm.
spending that money in the park. Now to
And I think
me,
that's the
ApeCoins
actual somewhat use case that can be argued for ApeCoin separate of staking. It actually has stuff going on.
kind of, right? And that only is contingent or dependent on how Yuga Labs grow and do long term. Like they
Mm-hmm.
acquired Punks and a couple other things, so maybe your ApeCoin or your Disney dollars, so to speak, is able. The park gets a little bit bigger. You can spend a little bit more in a bigger park now because it's not just bored apes that you could spend it on, but it's it's all sorts of the different collections under the Yuga umbrella, Yuga Labs umbrella. So maybe
Oh
that's
no, I think you're totally right. I'm just talking about how that idea spurred the rest of that move to IBC to create
hmm,
an
I see.
argument for staking it. But no, everything you're saying about Yuga pushing Ape, um, I think Ape's the example as a what's the point of staking versus a
Hmm.
what's the point of Ape.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha. And now, Nick, you had a Twitter thread you want to talk about getting into NFTs here. And it's
Yeah.
OSF underscore NFT. And what's the whole point here? It seems to kind of take a stab against NFTs.
It's I think it's well first like the poster is an artist that most people are familiar with recently who did the piece called Wreckman.
Uh-huh.
Like kind of notable people like Snoop and who else? Raw Paul from Real Vision. They own a piece. There's a couple other people that I've seen or followed like on YouTube who ended up buying a piece. But he's a London artist and he's actually like talking a little bit more about this like movement, this almost like crypto like pre-punk movement that is still there, even though the utility in the PFP projects and all the different cartoon animals are no longer, right. So it's kind of
Hmm.
saying how the art remains and that the focus is like last couple months or this summer particularly was more like CCO driven art. So that was like open source art, so to
Okay.
speak, and it was
What's
coming.
CCO? That's helpful.
Um, so it's like a kind of a Creative Commons. Let me Google.
Okay, gotcha.
It's one of those like, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. it's able to be used, remixed, similar
Gotcha.
very much
Creative.
to like,
Yeah. Okay. So more
yeah,
of a
Creative
free use.
Commons.
Okay.
Very much, yeah.
Got it.
And you're seeing like an emphasis on like one of ones, and a lot more focus on like artists. And I think that's interesting because I think we kind of NFTs kind of jumped the shark, so to speak, when we got to this like whole well, other side, Meta, and all these other kind of moonbirds, these NFT projects that were really just like a cartoon masking being in front of like a big VC company or like a
Mm-hmm.
company that's just
Mm-hmm.
raising money, right? So I think that was kind of like the top, and people kind of got realized it was oversaturated with cartoon animals and all these promises that were just copies of apes, right? Like everyone was going to have a coin, like Jeff said, and like ApeCoin was a pretty successful coin itself, but it's interesting to see that like no, the originality is actually coming back to art itself and like one of one pieces, not like a 10,000 piece collection. Nobody cares that much anymore. And I think that's partly to do with the bear market itself. It's kind of driven away all those like the kind of startups or those
Right. So
companies.
it sounds like you're trying to say that there is trying to become a legitimate collector's market versus just a money making collector's market. But you still, just in the whole crypto bros world, you still have that element that just wants to make quick cash versus the people that are collecting the Mona Lisa or Bentleys or
Mm.
expensive kinds of rare cars. So just because it's rare, you just have a different kind of contingent of people trying to buy it. So I don't see how it's going to become a collector's market no matter what in the same way that you see it in the physical world. Am I
Oh
wrong?
yeah, no, I agree with that. But I think we're seeing like a maturity in the NFT space
Okay,
because I
sure.
think all the I think, I mean, I could be wrong. I think the bear market has kind of rid everybody of all the cartoon animals and like I mean, they're it's not easy anymore to like put your money into like a squirrel picture and then have it go up 100,000x. I think that is a lot of
That's
like
too bad.
frothy stuff, right? That we all kind of thought NFTs were all about. But really, it's been a lot of like, there's been a lot of like people left holding the bags. I mean, Jeff can attest to this. Like,
Yeah, no,
he
yeah,
he
Jeff,
and
you were a huge NFT collector. Are you
Still,
are you the
um,
fool or are you the genius?
um, mostly fool right now. I mean,
Okay, you as soon as you paused, I think that sort of answered it.
like there's a few projects that I'm still in. I'm wearing my Craniums hoodie, and they're the
mm,
utility. They're giving out concert tickets, tons of concerts every month. They're actually building stuff out. I think sometimes even I'm unaware of how many of those 10K PFPs there were. I'm thinking, well, like there's that. I'm a part of Jenkins, like ones with utility that are still
mm,
doing stuff. And then I realized, like you said, squirrels. I'm like, oh yeah, there was like 80 a day launched from like last August, last July, and all of those failed. So it's kind of like the 99% failed. Um, the one thing I wanted to touch on that Nick said is like the maturity of the space and the emphasis on one-on-ones and um, I don't know. But emphasis from who? Like people on Twitter and the maturity of people on Twitter saying, we've grown up. We've decided to change this.
no,
And if
I
you have,
think it's actually like,
hold on, hold on.
no, go
But
ahead.
like,
Yeah.
so we're changing this whole one-on-one narrative, but isn't it's just a narrative to sell stuff. The whole last thing was an overhyped narrative where a few 10K PFPs came out that are a club that have functioning um, that they're always valuable like BAYC, and then you get Moonpay
Mm,
pumped, but that do stuff. That people want to be part of the club, that there's things to do in the club, and it wasn't just the picture, right? The picture is kind of just that
mm,
representation. The one-on-one art is just the picture. So I'd say
yeah.
most of those PFPs, yeah, they were garbage, but the few that did provide, whether it's community and vibes
Mm,
or
right.
actual real life events that people got together. Um, and for the Cranes, real concerts that people are going to every day. Like that will survive, but I don't know about the squirrels and anybody who's not. I think it's more that like when people say alts should go away, like I'm a bit of a
Mm.
maxi, but there's probably like 10 great alts we need.
So I'm thinking of NFTs in the same way as altcoins, right? I think like each cycle you're going to get like, I mean, these boom bust periods, and altcoins are dead, right? Long live Bitcoin. But then and everyone thinks NFTs are dead, and all that's left is apes and Azuki or doodles, right? But you, I think you're gonna see just like what we saw with Neo, and then it was the ETH killer, and then Solana came out. It's Neo and ETH killer. I think that's what's going to happen in the NFT space. Right now, we're just going to oversaturate things with one of ones with art. And you're right, it's going to because there's no liquidity, so it's easy to talk about that. But it's not like
Yeah.
those things are
But
selling
those
by the
were
thousands.
projects
And
you
it's
buy
Yeah,
for the tech and you sell if the price goes up.
yeah.
A lot of
But
people
and it,
are in the NFT stuff to be part of the club. Now, not thousands where all these 10K projects are selling out, but
right.
long term, as you keep the numbers going, because the number of users on OpenSea is still at 50K, like the amount they're spending is down.
Hmm.
But again, we're a year into this NFT hype and 4 or 5 years into NFTs. So in 10, 15 years, the 1% that are doing something, and
Hmm.
we spend a lot of time talking about the other 99%. And it's like, well, they're gonna die like all the alts did. Who cares?
Yeah, yeah,
it seems with NFTs, it's just too darn easy to make them. So, I mean, how do
yeah.
you create scarcity when I can make an NFT so quickly?
Well,
And
Then,
again,
it,
it's the
then it's just back
use.
to the greater fool theory, right?
Yes, yeah,
Who's gonna buy it or sell it before I do?
right. And I'd say
and then
99% are like that. Where I'm repping my craniums, they're gonna get you concert tickets.
Yeah. So
Um,
you're feeling community around that.
yeah. And very different than the ones where I bought in and it is they're like, we can, they're like, come to the Discord. I'm like, what else? And they're like, come to the Discord. I'm like, okay, I'm out. This is dumb.
and then
Yeah.
look,
Um,
Right.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I'm out and then I can't sell them, but
Yeah.
I'd
So
say so.
if you can have community around it, then you can feel like you're part of the cool club, whatever that is. We all love being parts of community. I
Yeah.
got my hat that says Sun River on it because I want to be part of the Sun River Community Cool Club,
Mhm.
Hmm.
etc.
Yeah, and then that's where they survive. But then really they're not PFPs. It's just a club.
Mm-hmm.
It's your access to a club. So how many of these were
Mm.
sold as PFP art, 10,000 squirrels, and how many of them were sold as 10,000 pictures, like in, unique tickets where you're just buying a ticket to the club?
Right.
And is there a
Well, it was
club? Most of them don't actually have a worthwhile club behind it. The few that do, though, I think stick around. And then it gets to the art, because is there a club around the art, or am I just buying the art?
Right.
I think there's
I
clubs within the clubs for sure. Sorry to cut you off, Mike.
oh, go ahead.
But I think that the club, not only the club, but the art itself gets it's further complicated with like the CCO stuff, right? Because then I don't know, your community is not there's no scarcity involved, and your community is whatever, and then it just kind of it's just interesting because yeah, like they went through a trend where it was like we don't have a club, we don't have a Discord, right? And then we don't have a roadmap. We don't have this. So they went anti everything, everything the Bored Apes had. It was like cool for a while to like not do it, right? Look at the goblins. Look how that strange little I'd say the most recent successful NFT project, PFP wise, uh, took
Was a
off. Like it
successful
came out of
project
nowhere.
or a well hyped one that ran up in value and it fell in value? Like,
For best one for 2022, I'd say. Like I don't know another like think about anything else that happened in the
no,
NFT
but I'm
space.
saying the idea of the choice of the word best one.
Oh, I'm sorry. But
Price
it
went up,
was
price went down. So is it, are you saying the best price return or best club to be in? Like, what do the goblins do
it
as
would have been a best
once
price return. They gave
if it's just
if you yeah, they gave it away for free,
mhm.
right? And it went all the way up to 8 ETH. And that's a pretty wild 2 month
Oh,
run.
Mm.
and it was
Yeah.
great. And them coming on Twitter Spaces and doing stuff like they had great hype and
Uh,
great vibe around it.
mm.
But I think they
But it
feed
was
into the argument of, and then it was just a picture.
Well, think about the evolution again, right? It was a picture, but it was also like performance art, right? They did all that stuff in New York City, and it was really the way they marketed everything. It was the clues on Twitter and stuff. It was performance art
Mhm.
and performance marketing, and so I just think that this is
But
what
they
the
got to
space
keep it
is
going
doing. Like,
because if you're going to keep reselling it, the performance has to continue. That's their
oh, and it's
utility, right? Is them coming on Spaces and going, nah.
well, yeah. Now they're just, or they're gonna get you to stake something. And they're just going, hey, stake this. We ran out of ideas, you know. Um, who knows? But it's interesting. What I'm saying is like it's interesting to see that we went from like Bored Apes, everyone's a millionaire, NFTs are gonna
Mm.
make us all
Yeah.
rich, to like, oh, now this has like special access utility, to like, oh, this has no utility. That's not cool anymore. It's just about the art. It just has a community, and now it's like, oh, this one's cool because it like blurs a different type of art, right? I think what the performances of the goblins and what everyone's trying to copy now is interesting that they're just trying to. The space is clearly trying to push forward because it's kind of on a lifeline.
All right. Well, we are starting to run out of time here because it's our first show and we still have the cheap Zoom version where we only get 40 minutes and we're about 35 minutes in. So I think we should wrap it up for now and meet back again next week. Now, do you guys have any Twitter handles or anything where people can get a hold of you? Nick?
Yeah, you can go online to Twitter and see me at Nicholas K. Garvin, Garvin.
All right. Sounds good. And Jeff?
NFJeff_, and I'll put all these up in the show notes at the bottom of this video.
Okay, and I'm at Autism Podcast. I know it's a strange name, but it's how I started podcasting
And
many
it
years
fits
ago.
so perfectly into what you're doing now.
Somehow, yeah.
Oh boy.
All right, gentlemen, we'll talk again next week.
All right. Thank you guys so much. It's a pleasure.
Great to see you guys. Bye.